Hi. Missed you guys. So I'm sitting on my bed. In the Bible, they call this the bridal chamber. Because it's like a partition where you sleep. This is also where I meditate. There's my dream catcher. Yeah. So I want to get to the point. Because I always see people. I see a lot of folks who are not a particular shade of brown doing a lot of speaking for those who are a shade of brown, be it Latino, Black, Muslim, Middle Eastern, Asian, Pacific Islander. So it's fascinating that in this whole situation that we're in right now, the people making the most decisions for communities, cultures, minority decisions are people who are not of the minority. They're not of a diverse background. And that's also an issue too, because on the flip side, minorities and people of color, we always say white people. And if we keep saying white people, there's a trigger. If we keep pointing a finger at white people, there's a trigger. So I think we have to find a way to stop blaming white people for everything and stop using that as a catalyst to retaliate your internalized anger and internalized oppression. We've been oppressed for a long time, but there have been so many movements in the past. So the battle's done. If anyone has had a fire hose launched on their body to prevent them from going to go vote, you know what I mean? Like, that's what happened 50 years ago. Or signs in windows that said no color people allowed. Those were political movements because they wanted to sway the vote. Rosa Parks, she wasn't sent to the back of the bus because she was black. It was because she wouldn't give her vote to a certain party. So the people on the bus who were white wanted her democracy. This isn't her story. They wanted her democracy. It's not disclosed what her political viewpoint was. No one knows if Rosa Parks was Democrat or Republican. So I think that's very significant. It's very interesting. Like no one knows. Everyone just assumes, oh, she's Democrat because she's black. But let's say if she were to give her vote to the right, and let's say you are left and you are white and you know there's a black person who we need that vote to get us in, and she refused, so let's send her to the back of the bus. It's an illusion of this racism, prejudice, racial attack. It's a catalyst because there's an undertone, and the undertone is if we project this that's going on, we can make people do quite opposite. I don't know if this makes any sense at all, but I woke up today and I was like, I'm tired of being used. And the interesting thing about what transpired, my thought process about this was I was visiting a friend around the corner, and he has a dog who's blind, and so I was just spending time with the dogs and just catching up. My friend is hearing impaired, so I just wanted to spend quality time and make sure that he was okay. The Census Bureau ends up knocking on the door, and what's interesting is my friend, it's not his apartment, but he rents a room. So the person who owns the apartment was at work. I know them both. And so Census Bureau asks all these questions. How many people live here? How many years have you been here? Is your mailing address, this location? The person who lives, and it's like, shouldn't you be talking to the person who lives here, who's on the lease? and they're Mexican descent. And so I also realized Census Bureau is only going to areas that I think they're trying to gentrify. This is just my conspiracy theory. Because I'm looking at like Palos Verdes, I'm like, where the census people at in Palos Verdes? Laguna Beach, the Hamptons. Are people. So back to my topic. Black people are used. We're used. I'll tell a very quick story of my own personal experience. This started in February, where I was offered. Well, I had a secondary job, and they wanted to offer me more hours. And my secondary job is a different branch of a different chain where there's fitness and dance and whatever. So they said, we would like a hip hop exercise class. In my mind, and a lot of people remember this when I ranted, when I think hip hop, I think of, swag. I think of culture. I think of a vibe. Hip hop, it's like the word dance. Dance is just a motion. Hip hop is just a motion. It's a movement. It's a vibe. It's a grit. And so, so if I'm in Palos Verdes, and if you don't know Palos Verdes, it's like your upper echelon, upscale, environment. White people, white, Chinese, Persian, Arabic, Jewish. So that gives you a culture background. Asian Pacific Islander. Lovely people. But I'm not going to bring no Wu-Tang Clan and Corrupt and Sugar Hill Gang to a class of people of that diverse background. I'm not going to do that. So I played songs with beats, even if it was a pop singer that had a good beat in the background. Like Taylor Swift, Ready for It. That has a hard beat. And that's what hip hop truly is. You want to bring people to the forefront. You want to bring something out. You got to dig for, those undertones, those cat, cat, cat. So long story short, I didn't play the music that the previous teacher, who was also a black male, fantastic artist, fantastic performer, I didn't bring the same vibe as him, so they let me go. Not even 24 hours, I had a secondary job and I lost a secondary job. I was ticked off and I was pissed because I'm like, they didn't even know my resume. They didn't know what background I have. They didn't know how many music videos I've been in. And that's what really is my point for this is it seems as though that people do not history check our accolades. They don't look at the paper trail of how hard we've worked, how many doors we've opened. And if those doors are already opened and resolved, stop opening them again. It's almost like if a wound is healed, why are you still picking at it? So that's the issue and stigma that we have is we think black people are still struggling and oppressed and po. And as long as we have that perception, there's always going to be police brutality. White cop kills black person. But then we still keep forgetting that young black males who are involved in illicit, activity, they resist arrest. They fight back. George Floyd fought back. He kicked the door open of the police car. It's if you guys YouTube George Floyd body cam, George Floyd incident body cam, police body cam, George Floyd, you'll see it. There wasn't any sign of any verbal racial connotation. There was nothing racist about the whole situation. And I took time to investigate. Once the video was released 2 months after everybody had made their movement. So it's fascinating that the powers that be, or as I say, the powers that shouldn't be, will always find ways to stir the pot, kind of like I do on Facebook. But they'll stir the pot, let everybody argue and beat themselves up, and then they'll say, let's release the truth, or let's whistle blow on something. But no one goes back and go, oh, shoot, we made a mistake. We need to apologize to each other for what mistakes we made. And that's the issue. And then what happens is it all falls on the black community. Because the next time we do let's say someone gets an award for something great, it's not going to be noticed. The Pulitzer Prize went to Obama, or what is that? The Peace Prize went to Obama. There's probably not going to be another black person who's going to get a Nobel Peace Prize because it's already been alluded that he achieved the greatest achievement a black person can ever have. And that's what sucks is he's not even all the way black. Just to be very honest. But what happens is because it was projected as an image of African American community, and it was the image of the highest achievement a black person has made, we only do this now. Is there going to be another black male president? We don't know. And if there is it going to be the same hype as Obama? Probably not. An issue that I have about the whole Kamala Harris thing, and it has a lot to do with like television. You never see darker skinned black folks in representative categories of our society. We don't see darker skin, and that's why like Kelly Rowland's song is called, is it Coffee? 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 Hair? Something? Oh my gosh. I know Beyonce is a brown skin girl, but I'm not talking about Beyonce's song. Kelly Rowland has a song where it's all shades of darker skin, beautiful women with all types of texture hairs, and that's the whole video. It's just their body is goddess and their hair is like done up, like afros and nappy hair, bald head, and it kind of sucks because there was a vice president, potential vice president, I forget her name, but she was supposed to be in place of Kamala Harris. She was actually, she's a former police chief in Florida. That would have been a perfect win. She was dark skinned. She knows the authority, the police enforcement. She knows the law. She worked for the law. But the fact that no one knew her, and I think because she was darker skinned, they wanted to go with someone lighter because lighter skinned people are more appealing. That's just how it is. If you guys saw the TV show The Real, or the talk show The Real, when Tamar stepped out, you saw how many people were co-hosting. They weren't darker than they weren't as dark as Lonnie Love, and they weren't darker than what's her name, Tamara. And Tamara's biracial. So it's sad because we'll always be used as a catalyst. We're always, it almost seems as though we're always going to be stuck in slavery. And it doesn't have to be imprisonment or forced work labor to be slavery. It could be just your energy is being used to cross people over from one system of belief to another system of belief. And so I just think it's kind of sad, particularly for the dance world, because there's so many amazing dancers. Like I saw this. Can I say white girl? Southern white girl on Instagram. What was her name? I think it was like White Sugar is her name. Anyway, but she can twerk. She was like, da, 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 da. And you see a bunch of other, multiracial people behind her, but your eyes are stuck on, I forget her name, White Sugar? I'm going to find her Instagram. But that's just my point. A lot of people think, because these people have more swagger, their roots are more urban, they've been through a tough life, they probably have more to shine, or because they're thirsty for more money and more coin, they're probably desperate to have more work. So, and that's what I started to see with my secondary job was the moment that I couldn't offer more of my time, they fired me on September. Well, it was June 7th during this pandemic. This pandemic was a catalyst to let a lot of people go. And I was like, you couldn't let Cindy go or Melissa, but you gotta let Aaron go. These are like yoga and Pilates instructors. You won't let go of your best dance teacher, really? It happened in January. My primary job decided to let me go. No excuse. And I think like a lot of times people think that we will fight back with curse words and vulgarity and our pinky finger and pop, 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 pop off. And I think sometimes when we're intentionally provoked and we fall for it, we lose. So fortunately, my mama raised me better than that to where I just kept quiet. And unfortunately, it was the time where I was suffering a loss of my brother. So it was like, y'all gonna come at me right now at this time when I'm going through something? You really want to go there? So I'm gonna open the can of worms slowly because this all transpired a year ago. And I felt like I've done so much. I maxed my body to the fullest capacity. Everybody loved me. Everybody loved what I was doing because I was coherent to what everybody needed. But because I needed money and needed to survive, I just sucked it up and did it. And it almost took my life. It almost eliminated my muscles. You know, people thought things were going on with me. People were assuming the worst because when you're of a particular skin color and you don't look too well, people automatically assume you're going through something negative and bad and you're self-sabotaging. And so that's what was my biggest fear was I really don't know how to explain to people what I'm going through has nothing to do with the streets. It's more of feeling casted out, pushed in a corner, forced to be this. And even with my primary job, it was Pride season, and we're like this wasn't directed at me, but it was inferred. It was inferred that we want happy pride. We want like the even someone who participated in my class said, you just need to be that big, bold, gay, flamboyant personality that everyone can remember. And I said, you all of this. And I think a lot of folks assume that because black folks are entertaining, that automatically we're great actors. Or we're appealing to the eye because we can make gesture. It's just in our genetics. It's just in our facial structure. There's a lot of people who are animated in all different backgrounds. But I look at TV shows like America's Got Talent. Why haven't they had a white host? Ryan Seacrest is the best example of proving that, there are more people of different colors who can actually be great hosts. Mario Lopez was a great person too to host so many shows. I think Mario Lopez, he held it on his own too much to where they had to move him out because he was captivating too much. But America's Got Talent, it was Nick Cannon, then what's his name? Terry Crews, then Tyra Banks. And who's the host now? I forget. Is it Terry Crews right now? It's Terry Crews right now. It's Tyra Banks, then Nick Cannon. It's just like, why do you guys gotta keep having the same black hosts? Soul Train, same thing. It was the original Soul Train guy, then it went to Shamar Moore. It's like, why do networks, big network companies feel the need to cast and hire people of color, black people, I like to say, because we're not African American. I think we're black. But if you guys aren't paying attention to this, look at every TV show, like Dancing with the Stars right now, Tyra Banks. Why couldn't you keep Erin Andrews? Erin was great. Maybe she's not strong enough for online. Maybe she's not that appealing to hold a TV show together and host a TV show by herself, being a white female. But it doesn't it's just not appropriate to say we need a stronger personality. We'll find Tyra Banks. Really, y'all? Really? Another great example, RuPaul's Drag Race. If it weren't for RuPaul's Drag Race, logo wouldn't be existent right now. So I commend RuPaul. Actually, I have met RuPaul twice. RuPaul is actually a very humble, very gracious person. Out of any big name person, I commend RuPaul. I commend RuPaul because to put up with the industry and to hold your own network or your own TV show down, props. But yeah, Ru said, look, I owned VH1 back in the days. I had my own talk show. And proceeds of the network will go to me. Checks for me hosting my show goes to my staff. And that's a boss. And that's how I used to actually project myself. Whenever I step into a project or something, I will always think about other people. Who's going to be after me? What door am I opening, for the next black person behind me? Sadly enough, last year at this I'm just going to open a can of worms. So last year this time, I was starting to see a pattern. I won't be too descriptive of where it was. But I saw a pattern, and it felt like the impression was Aaron's burning out. Aaron's getting tired. And so what happened was there was this event where a lot of us swapped positions in order to have I guess an event where every day was a different style of dance and a different presentation. Sometimes it was choreography, it was ballet. It just took us out of the element, which was but it sabotaged me because in my own corner of going to college and actually training for dance, I knew the structure of a real dance class. But when you put it in a gym, the gym is not going to do what a modern dance class would do as a warm-up. So the fact that I was able to cross over, every 5 minutes was great. But no one on the upper echelon saw or acknowledged anything that I've done. So the decision that was made later made no sense. But I think that they were trying to find another person of color, which they were, secret shopping, putting different people of diverse backgrounds in my, I was catching on to it. I was like, ooh, who trying to come from my position? Really, y'all? Really? But the thing about it is when all these particular people stepped into my place and tried to fill in my class, people walked out. And I think that's the power that black folks have is our will of... I'm ranting. There's this old Egyptian mythology, and it talks about the children of the sun. And the children of the sun were these really dark-skinned people. They came from the stars, and they descended to this tribe called the Dogon tribe. I talked about this in Black History Month. And these people from the stars had told the people of the land, you need this to survive. You need energy from the sun. You need grains and the roots from the plants in the ground. We will feed you light if you eat it. That was the metaphor. And so I think what had happened was along came this garden, and in this garden there were some white people. I'm just being funny. And now you have the Garden of Eden, and then you have the children of the sun. There's two entities going on. And then there was actually, people have this theology of the Anunnaki, as they call it in ancient history, and the Sumerian culture. So now you have three entities. So you have these three entities, 3 shades of brown, maybe 1 shade of cream vanilla, but each of them trying to fight for the true story of who was here first. So I try to see that as my perception of politics and TV networks. Um, TV networks like The View. You know, you see Whoopi Goldberg as the host, but then it's almost like, how much I put my words. It's almost like if you knew the real secret, the real truth about something, and you knew how to keep the people who had the secret. Let's say that the secret was the children of the sun were the real royalty. They were the real royals of the earth. But in order to steal that power, you're going to have to oppress them. You have to trick them to being slaves. I think that's just all what it is in a nutshell, is we were fooled and tricked into these roles of oppression, these roles of we have to fight for our rights. No, we don't. It already belongs to us. You know, that's what highly melanated people are, right? Highly melanated means the pineal gland is constantly flowing. It's that third eye, little eyeball that people see in the foreheads. That's what the children of the sun were. They were able to shine the light because they were constantly producing melanin. And I think like there's something behind melanin and the adrenal glands and the blood cells and the regeneration of your body. Like if you get injured, your body genetics might heal you faster if you're one shade of brown than another color. I don't know if I'm making any sense at all, but I think when powers that shouldn't be, who are not black, know this stuff, they have ways to distort the perception of who we are, our true identity, who we truly, our right for being here on earth. What is our true right, our divine right? So anyways, I'm going to conclude by saying, I think it's time for people of color to start having their own platform where they're speaking their own voice. And I think by being of the internal, being a primary source of the situation, of this racial justice movement, I think it'll start opening the door where we can actually start making a movement just by using our own platform, social media and whatnot. Because I'm seeing a lot of people who are, and I don't mean to make this like negative, like, oh, I'm seeing a lot of Caucasians and white folks, but I am seeing a lot of white folks speaking on behalf of, it's like, it's not even Black Lives Matter anymore. It's really, I need you guys to stop telling me what's wrong with white folks damning and condemning blacks. Because I really don't see it that much. I see it when people are trying to pretend there's a problem with white people and black people. The people causing the issue are the ones who are, they're not even trying to help. They're trying to be more instigative. I hope I'm making sense. I know I'm just rambling. Yeah, but I just wanted to go off on this because when I woke up this morning, I thought about the census and the people going to the door of my friend's place yesterday. And it's down the street from here, and that's a more hard area in Long Beach. It's North Long Beach, so it's predominantly Latino, Hispanic, Black. There's a lot of activity there too. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of things. And so I'm like, the Census Bureau being in those areas, And then I'm thinking like, this is just off record. If we have a pandemic, why are they doing the census right now when there are still cases that are declining? Lives are still being lost to a virus. Why would you do a census right now? Maybe it has a lot to do with voting. But I would say if you're someone in a position where if you need a favor or you need, if you need anyone to swoop in to aid you on something, try not to depend it on the race or ethnic. That did not sound cute. The race or ethnic background of the person. what that was. I think I better go. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you later. Maybe I was talking too much. The warning shot. Bye. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are watching this live stream later, because I know some of you watch it later on, let me know what you guys think. Because I commend people for making comments, and I thank people for watching. But I think what would really help is if people can find a little bit of courage to have some inclusion on the conversation. I don't have to be right or correct, but an acknowledgement of what you do understand or perceive from your own experience, I think that will help. Because a lot of times, well, most of the time, people are just sitting around and watching and feeling a burden. And I think it feels good when you can at least break that ice and say something that you feel is appropriate. It may not have to agree with me, but if it's appropriate in your case, someone else is going to agree with you. And that's the healing process. Anyways, I'm going to go because gunshots. Bye.